Aren't we getting like a DSA sweep in the New York elections in the primaries? There was drama that Mamdani's wife didn't call to vote for Brad Lander. They're calling her anti-Semitic for that. Who's they? Mamdani's wife probably didn't call for people to vote for Brad Lander because Brad Lander is going to win in a fucking landslide. Days after a Brooklyn coffee shop said that Dan Goldman was unwelcome there because of his views on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Dan Goldman said on Tuesday he did not think the incident warranted a federal civil rights investigation. That's funny. I don't think Brad Lander is going to win in a landslide, but I think he's probably going to win against Goldman, yeah. How's Claire Valdez looking in terms of her primary? Yeah, who are we, how far left will New York go? Yippee! 50 million in spending for these House primary races, Jesus. 12th, what are we looking for? We're looking for like the 7th. What's the DSA voter guide? Okay, I know Chevalier, Daria Lisa Avila Chevalier, because I saw there was some like drama with PV or whatever. I know Claire Valdez. I've heard of Zoran Mamdani, I think. I know about that guy. Don't know much about David Orkin, but that's a local one. Here are the key races. Don't forget the Bowman. Well, that was from 2024. Park Slope voter Lawson Shadburn supports Lander. I'm a concerned Jew who's very worried about how U.S. policy towards Israel and Israel's behavior is not good for Israel or for Jews, and so it's out of that Jewish consciousness that I'm opposed to Dan Goldman. Based, but unfortunately your cuffs are uneven. Sorry, King. New York elections. I will never use hotkeys for YouTube.
Vanessa, good morning, and we are following 4 of these key races. Now, also watching these races very closely, that would be Mayor Zoran Mamdani, who has made endorsements of 3 of these races that we will be talking about. So today's results really going to be a test of his political power and influence. So take a look at your screen. Let's start off by talking about the race. Where we are right now, this is Congressional District 13, made up of parts of Upper Manhattan and the West Bronx. Democratic.
Isn't Chevalier, isn't Daria Lisa like hyper woke or whatever? Isn't she like a DSA warrior? She's not like partially woke or anything. She's full dip. She is getting called Haitian as a slur. Okay. She's kind of a campus, unfortunately. Yeah, I heard that. Unfortunate, but you know, better than her opponent.
Socialist Daria Eliza Avila Chevalier is trying to unseat the incumbent rep and leader of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Adriano Espaillat. Mayor Mamdani has endorsed Avila Chevalier. Now over to New York 7th, running along the water in Queens and Brooklyn. Mayor Mamdani is throwing his weight behind State Assembly member Claire Valdez over Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. In the 10th Congressional District, which covers Lower Manhattan and stretches into Brooklyn.
Progressive Victory won't support due to Ukraine. Yeah, that's probably like, wait, what? I have not. Those just don't work with my style. I regret getting them. New York 7 is over. It appears Julia won. How can it be over? Oh, fuck you. Shut up. What was I saying? Espaillat is such a toad? Yeah, for sure. So we of course want Daria Lisa to win, but she failed the PV pledge or whatever, because like, she's weird on Ukraine, which is fine. Which is fine from PV's perspective, I think. We still want her to win, but like, you know, you have to have standards when it comes to who you're going to canvass for.
District, which covers Lower Manhattan and stretches into Brooklyn. Incumbent Rep. Dan Goldman is facing a tough challenge from former Brad Lander.
Whoa.
Lander does have the mayor's endorsement in that race. Now, Mayor Mamdani has not weighed in on the close race in New York 12 to replace retiring Congressman Jerry Nadler. That district includes...
She and Valdez are insanely good in Israel, though. Yeah. So, like, yeah, no, I mean, I still would prefer that they win. It is important to, like, push back against campism, though.
Midtown and the Upper East and West Sides. That is a crowded field that includes Jack Schlossberg and George Conway, but Democratic pollsters say that race will likely come down to 2 assembly members, Michael Lasher and Alex Boris. It's notable this is one of the wealthiest congressional districts in America. So during the debate on Pix 11, all 4 candidates said they do back higher taxes on the nation's top earners. Take a listen.
Yippee.
Income inequality in this country is not only a moral issue, it is an economic security issue.
I have a long record of fighting for taxing the rich in the Assembly, and I will do the same in Congress.
We need comprehensive tax reform. We need to also restore the state and local tax deduction.
A lot that we are following with these 4 races. Polls.
Yeah, here we go. Espaillat's senior advisors made racist and Islamophobic comments about congressional challenger Daria Lisa. Is Daria Lisa even Muslim? Former senior advisor racist comments in Spanish language media. Rusking Pimentel, currently on unpaid leave from Espaillat's congressional office, accused Avila Chevalier who identifies as Afro-Dominican and Muslim. Oh, well, there you go. Of working with Mamdani to replace Dominicans in Washington Heights with Muslims and Haitians. Oh, I saw this. Yeah. They were doing like Democrat great replacement arguing, which is crazy. Old school racism, man. Whew. For Daria Liza, who's the candidate running against Adriano, Washington Heights cannot continue to be Dominican. It's so fucking funny to be doing great replacement theory, but the group being replaced as fucking Dominicans in New York, you know? That right there is multiculturalism. That is the great melting pot. We cannot allow these Muslim Haitians to take over to overwhelm the naturally Dominican New York population. Phenomenal, really. No, you don't get it. Conservative Dominicans hate Haitians? Yeah, man, of course they do. They're like right there. Yeah, I know. It's just all the same shit. Espiat's volunteers doing voter intimidation. What the frick is this? Is this going to be in Spanish?
Hi, good afternoon. We're here for Congress.
Every 4 years you see him.
So is support for Ukraine or anti-Zionism? For me, primary issue is anti-Zionism, but PV is allowed to have their lines. Also, like, you know, it's important that just because I can rank my priorities in a hierarchy doesn't mean that I don't care about all of them.
No, speaking of your shirt, you know they've been saying like anti-Haitian stuff, calling her like, she's like, them, they're like,
Forget about them. Forget about them.
So are they just like Dominican supremacists or whatever? That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
We gotta change. We need a change.
Exactly. All right, so you still want to
No, lady, we need a change. You believe in,
She's not the right
you believe in what she said?
No, I'm not believing.
¿Tú crees lo que ella dijo?
No, yo no creo
I don't trust.
Vete pa' Cuba, entonces, si tú quieres comunismo.
I'm not Cuban, I'm
Can't
Dominican.
believe I got a mute for pointing out Vush's 1999 Easter Sunday school fashion choices. You got a mute because you were wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. And now you've done it again, and now it's happening again. I don't know why you do this.
Oh, you también eres
But that guy, oye, that guy, you know when you see him, every 4 years you see him. Cada 4 años tú lo ves. Tú ves que déjame que te actúe, y the way you act.
All right, okay, so we have a
I want
race
to
war
still
brewing.
ask about two tweets specifically because I think they are relevant to the race. The first is all deportation is wrong. Now, in Congress, obviously, that comes with a lot of questions about immigration enforcement, and even as Democrats might agree with calls that you have shared to things like abolish ICE, I don't know if they're necessarily there on things like all deportation is wrong. Is that something you still believe?
That phrase, yes. I still believe that all deportations are wrong. And
Even if we're talking about illegal entry to the country or someone who may have committed a crime?
so when we're talking about things like illegal entry, or we're actually talking about
Dominicans are mixed. Dominicans are objectively black, and letting them pretend they're not is letting them get away with their own internalized racism, okay? Black is a fucking racial descriptor, not an ethnic one. They're obviously black. Their insistence that they're not black is them trying to, like, they're literally doing the, like, Filipino, like, 1/4 Spaniard. Actually, I am the direct descendant of Cortez. I am the whitest man. Yeah. It's like, it's super, super lame. You have to, there's nothing wrong with being black, man.
administrative laws, right? We're not talking about criminal law.
Let me
right?
concede the question of people who have not committed a crime, because I think that that's not really the question at hand. Like, if we're saying all deportation is wrong, though, that would seem to also include people who were convicted of breaking U.S. criminal law. Is the deportation of those people wrong?
Yes, and the reason I say that is because we have a criminal system. It is imperfect, but it exists. And it is one that if we accept as the process by which we want to engage with these issues, right, the issues of harm, issues of criminality, what have you, then we need to make sure that it is one that isn't also discriminatory on the basis of where people were born, right? To subject someone who has committed a crime to both a criminal system and then additionally to an immigration system that also detains them in the very same.
What did Chevalier say about Ukraine? Is she anti-Ukraine or pro-Russia? This is like the gist of the only thing that I know about.
Respond to past comments that you said the U.S. was a quote disgrace, and you also you said the U.S. bullied Russia. Politico reported that this morning. Would you like to clarify those comments?
I'm not sure what the context of those comments was coming from.
Your tweets from 2022?
I do not remember what the context of those tweets in 2022 were.
You didn't read the tweets that Politico reported this
Again,
year?
I'm
We're going to do one by one.
Are you the gentrifiers
We
candidate?
do need to do one by one.
Are you the candidate for the gentrifiers of the district?
What?
I'm not sure. Listen,
Huh?
I am somebody who has been organizing here in this district for over 14 years. I'm someone who has been with New Yorkers on the hardest days of their lives, and I felt the abandonment of the...
Oh yeah, she's a prison abolitionist, right? She's like a hyper woke. Mamdani back candidate refuses. Oh, from the Washington Examiner. You can tell where these attacks are coming from. Mamdani back candidate refuses to directly answer if murderers should go to jail. Beast mode. We need to get more crazy lefties into government. I don't give a fuck. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah, brother. Absolutely. Is this video relevant, or is it like an unrelated?
The president was joking.
Have voiced concern. James Dolan.
Unrelated. Now, fuck off. None of these questions are being asked in good faith. Yeah, of course. You're not ready for the abolition conversation? Yeah, it's okay. Whatever. We all support her. God bless.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. Today is primary day here in New York, as well as in Maryland and Utah, with a runoff in South Carolina. In several of the races, it's a battle between different wings of the Democratic Party amidst the rise of one group in particular, DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. In New York City, the DSA has a packed slate of 10 candidates across congressional, state assembly, and Senate races. In the 13th congressional district, the DSA is backing organizer Daria-Liza Villa Chevalier against incumbent Adriano Espaillat. And in the 7th district race for outgoing
Dan Bosch could not have the discussion here. I mean, we've had the discussion before. There's just not much to engage with it. Like, no, you can't really abolish prisons, but also, no, she's not going to be able to. I mean, it's irrelevant. Like, again, right now, the planet is being raped to death by Zionists, and every Zionist that you elect to office has the ability to enable that. Every Zionist comptroller is going to invest your city's funds into, like, Israeli stocks or whatever. Every Zionist politician is going to vote for more like rape dogs to be sent overseas to Israel so they can fill their prisons with them. Like, it's Zionists have the ability to affect their awful politics, and they do so gleefully and with reckless abandon. What the fuck is a prison abolitionist going to do? Post cringe? You know, it's not a serious dichotomy.
Congressmember Nydia Velázquez's seat, the DSA is backing union organizer Claire Valdez against Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, who is backed by Congressmember Velázquez, as well as the Working Families Party. Earlier this month, Democracy Now! Covered a rally hosted by the New York City DSA in Brooklyn and spoke to some of the DSA-backed candidates in today's primaries. Democracy Now! Spoke to Ian Huntley and Conrad Blackburn, running for the state assembly from Brooklyn and Harlem, Abir Kawas running for the state senate from Queens, and to New York State Assembly person Claire Valdez running for Congress in New York's 7th congressional district.
People are really mobilized. I think they're outraged by the genocide. They're outraged by what ICE is doing. They're outraged by the Trump administration. And they want to see a Democratic majority that's going to fight for universal health care, for a truly deeply affordable housing, to stand up against, the tech oligarchs.
How are we feeling about Brad Lander? Far and away better than Goldman. Massively better than Goldman. Not even close.
And so many of the people who make our lives hard.
I know what it's like to have to make a choice between paying for rent and paying for daycare. I know what it's like to be concerned that when our lease is up, if we'll be the next family that's displaced from this community. I know what it's also like to really be very scared about how am I going to pay for my kids' college because I'm still paying off my own student loans.
The housing instability that people are facing in Harlem is due to the fact that the people in power are taking money from landlords, taking money from developers, and then turning around and telling people that they're fighting for housing. It's just not true. And so in this moment, we really have to fight back.
For me, as a Palestinian, to be at a rally for Democratic nominees and have free Palestine signs after years and years and years of having elected officials not even ever take Palestine seriously, go through a genocide where people didn't even speak out about Palestine, this is such a momentous moment because it's really a change in political will and political history in the United States.
That was Abir Kawas, DSA candidate for the New York State Senate, as well as Conrad Blackburn and Ian Huntley, DSA candidates for New York State Assembly, and Claire Valdez, the DSA candidate for Congress. New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani has also played a key role in the races, backing the DSA's congressional candidates, as well as former city controller Brad Lander, running as a progressive challenger to Congressmember Dan Goldman here in New York City. For more on the rise of the DSA in New York and beyond, we're joined by Liza Featherstone, columnist for Jacobin, freelance journalist, author of Selling Women Short, the landmark battle for workers' rights at Walmart. Her latest column is headlined, NYC socialists are trying to expand their electoral wins.
I feel like Lander, even though he's nominally a liberal Zionist, I think that Lander's liberal Zionism is a perfect example of liberal Zionism existing in tension with reality, where like the perfect version of liberal Zionism is one that simply can't happen. Like, you imagine a peaceful, democratic, free, non-apartheid Israel. Well, that shit is not happening anytime soon, bucko. Like, your version of Zionism would require everything that Israel is to change, which means that functionally it's not really applicable to the real world. What's important is that Brad Lander is not like whitewashing Israel as it actually exists. You know what I mean?
Talk about the divided Democratic Party and the power of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, in New York and beyond.
Sure. Well, in the larger scheme of things, the Democratic Party is really divided.
Iranian singer sentenced to 74 lashes for performing without hijab. That's unfortunate. What relevance is to that, to what we're talking about, though?
Between its corporate and pro-war wing, which is represented by the Democratic leadership, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, both of whom are New Yorkers, and it's more. It's more left-wing, more grassroots base, DSA in New York City is one of the very grassroots forces representing that base, and some of our contests, particularly the congressional contests, are really playing that out.
And Liza, as you well know, there have been other periods in American history where socialists have gained a local office, especially in mayoralties and city councils, hundreds during the early 1900s. New York City had a famous socialist congressman, Vito Marcantonio, from East Harlem in the 1940s. What is different in your estimation of this? Because
I don't need to get too into the weeds here. It is a very big night for DSA, you know. I'm hoping wokeness takes over New York completely, even though some of the candidates might be a little bit wacky. She does say I'm a lot, but don't we all?
It's primary day on Tuesday. There are candidates vying for spots on almost every level, from open state Senate seats to congressional seats. So joining us now to discuss, we're bringing in a roundtable with Democratic strategist Trip Yang and political expert J.C. Polanco. Thank you so much for being here. You guys know these races in and out, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So we're going to start first with New York 12. There are 8 candidates in the race, but there are 4 probably getting the most attention. State Assemblyman Michael Lasher, State Assemblyman Alex Borres, Jack Schlossberg, who's the grandson of President John F. Kennedy, and then George Conway. So we got all 4. They're kind of the top ones that are getting the most conversation. What are your thoughts on the race so far?
So first of all, thank you so much for having us here, Morgan. Politics Unusual, the best new show on TV since 2025, on the record.
Say that to everyone.
Do you feel like you care a lot less about the candidate issues with how bad the Zionism issue is? I feel like a lot of my previous red lines are gone right now, as long as they're anti-Israel. Well, I think the problem is that, and this has been, I think, demonstrated pretty clearly over the past 10 years, a lot of the things that we want to happen just aren't going to happen because America is completely captured by capital. So I guess like we have progressed to a stage of capitalism where it's not just capitalism, right? I guess like late stage liberal democracy, bourgeois democracy, like it's a litmus test that determines almost anything else, right? As long as America is, or as long as American politicians are in a state where they're willing to support something like Israel, like the Zionist project, they can't get anything done. It is like a symptom of a greater subservience to capital interests, right? So it works well as a red line for that. It kind of seems like what policy positions even matter. We all know which direction this country's headed in. I think advocacy for good policy is really important, but like in a practical sense, what does it mean to have the right policies, but then to support the economic and political hierarchy that makes it impossible to implement them? You know what I mean? That being said, I think the real line here is genuine versus disingenuous support or lack of support for Israel. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene or Tucker Carlson types obviously don't give a fuck about ethno-nationalism or capital or whatever else. They're just bandwagoning or anti-Semitic. It's just about, like, you have to understand the hierarchy of problems that we're facing and the reasons why we're not able to do what we want to do. Right now, even if we had like politicians who are willing to implement Medicare for all, it just wouldn't happen. Structurally, it would be impossible. There'd be no way. Austerity is raping the entire Western world into the ground. No one can do big works projects. It does not matter how much money the government has. All of it will be wasted. All of it will be burned away into an infinite procession of rent-seeking, contractors, clients who waste everything you give them. There's no, like, the system as it is makes fundamental changes impossible. So we have to look at like broader critiques. Would you vote for someone who's anti-Israel but dog shit and everything else over somebody who's like the perfect candidate nationally but pro-Israel? Well, the thing to me is like, this is like, would you vote for the pedophile with good policy or the anti-pedophile with bad? Like, I think that in practice, pedophilia tends to correspond with bad policy in like government. You know what I mean? If you could pitch me this hypothetical candidate, I don't know. I'd have to like check my priors, I guess. In reality, politics is more complicated than that, usually because people rarely get done what they say they're going to get done. Like, part of the reason I've said I'd prefer an anti-Israel J.D. Vance over a pro-Israel Gavin Newsom is because I don't think J.D. Vance would be able to do anything different, basically. Like, I think Gavin Newsom and J.D. Vance, policy-wise, would be almost indistinguishable because nobody can get anything done. Even Trump is basically just eroded federal institutions, you know? Basically everything Trump's done is just a hastening, like a catalyst for pre-existing decay. He's not leaving his mark on the country in a way that's going to persist past the collapse, you know? He's not building new institutions. He's just eroding the ones that exist. I don't know. It's complicated. It's complicated. Safe to say, it is impossible for a committed Zionist to have good policies because they are principally opposed to the underlying structural political changes that would allow those policies to be implemented. You could be pro-Medicare for all, but if you're a Zionist, you can't ever actually do Medicare for all, right? You get me. Maybe. I don't know. I'm tired.
Discussion here. Look, in New York 12, respectfully, there's only two real candidates here, Michael Lasher and Alex Borez, both of them well-esteemed, respected state legislators. It is a very competitive race. On balance, it should lean Michael Lasher. The reason why is because most of the vote occurs on the west side, where his assembly district is, as opposed to the east side of Manhattan, where Alex Borez's current assembly district is. The reason why Borez is making this a race is because he has an incredible narrative. He has been a strong fundraiser, great political outreach. So this has become a race. Originally I thought this was going to be a decisive type of win for Lasher, but it is coming down to the wire here with two strong candidates.
Now, one of the more controversial races, New York 13.
He's got a lot of taste on this.
You were ready for this.
Israel's the recurring issue. Yeah, I guess like the closest equivalent that I could think of for it would be America in the antebellum South, or like Germany in the early 1930s, which is that the policy of a politician in Germany in 1933 is almost irrelevant to me. It's really just a matter of whether or not they would support the Enabling Act, or like whether they support the further deference of power to Adolf Hitler. Any policy they have is subservient to that because their deference to Hitler represents an allegiance to a greater political hierarchy that's going to make all their policy positions completely irrelevant. You could have like some insane like social democrat arguing for Hitler for like X reason, like, well, actually, we need to bypass the corrupt Weimar government. What, you just imagine whatever bullshit, just some idiot argument you could throw in any direction. But at the end of the day, like, whatever policy you have, the policy you're getting is Hitler. Likewise with Zionists, whatever policy you say you have, the policy you're getting is financialization, austerity, capital rule, and, Zionism. It doesn't matter what else they believe, really. That's the power structure they're supporting. And that's the only thing that gets done, Every institution in America has just been rotting for the past, for a while, but the past 10 years. And what has Israel done? I don't know. They've like invaded, done a genocide. They get to do stuff. What happens if capital turns on Israel? Well, Israel's just the wedge issue. So like ultimately the evil is capital. If global capital just completely divests from Israel, if Israel turns into like a Rhodesia or a South Africa after sanction situation, capital remains the issue. They're just going to like adopt. It's actually a really fucking bad sign if they ever do completely drop Israel, because that means they think they have the necessary social backing to carry on with the destruction of democracy without hiding it behind a wedge issue. Like, Israel is positioned because they can disingenuously play off the Islamophobia and ethno-nationalism of the right, as well as the liberal sympathies of the left. If they feel like they no longer need that shield, capital in its raw form, just expressing its raw power without hiding behind a cultural issue, that's probably a really fucking bad sign. You know what I mean?
So Daria Avila Chevalier is challenging Congressman Adriano Espaillat, but Chevalier, as you all know, has come under fire for some of her past comments that she's made, criticizing the military, police, calling President Biden a racist and a rapist, calling President Obama evil. She used profane language when describing other top Democrats, and she even criticized...
No, say it.
Interracial relationships. She did apologize.
Wait, what?
And she even criticized interracial relationships.
Oh no. Oh, she really is woke.
She did apologize this week on the debate stage slightly, but a week before the election. JC, go for it.
Morgan,
I know you have so many comments.
F. Kamala Harris.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I mean, on what planet
Dr.
is this
Umar
even
warned
happening,
against
right?
this.
And it's happening in a place where there's a cult of personality. This individual just got here, has no experience, has no business running
In a historical post retrieved from her deleted Twitter account, Avila Chevalier criticized men of color for engaging in interracial relationships with white women, describing such dynamics as, quote, fetishizing ugly colonizer women. Oh no. Oh no. That's fucking funny. It's a dang race war over there in New York. It's 13. This one's 13, right? New York 13. How old's the post though? 2019. Ancient history. Dog, I don't care. Anti-white racism isn't exactly a powerful force in American politics. I don't give a shit. As long as she's anti-Israel. I know you're not about to downplay being interracial. Hey, no. I think it's bad. Jarvis, pull up the skin color of her boyfriend. I know, I know she's done some vent tweets about how all men ain't shit. Hold on. Daria Lisa, boyfriend. Does not have a widely publicized boyfriend? Oh, I bet. I still remember when my mom said, quote, I don't care who you love or marry, whether they're a woman, man, trans, pause, even if they are white. That's so based. That's so based of your mom.
Congressional race, but there's millions of dollars being spent to beat up on the chairman of the Hispanic caucus, someone who's been representing that district for over 30 years. And I cannot even believe this is happening. The truth of the matter is that if this were anybody, could you imagine a white candidate saying half the things she said? Could you imagine anyone else saying, appearing on an event, blasting Israel the day after the October 6th terrorist attacks?
October
7th. Could you imagine that? I think this is it's a shame what's happening here, and I think that Mayor Mamdani is going to pay a serious price politically for getting involved in this race, getting involved in the race out in Brooklyn to try to defeat Nydia Velázquez. I think there's going to be a long memory to this, and he's been so active trying to defeat Congressman Espaillat, the first Dominican member of Congress. We're never going to forget this. I can never believe this is even happening.
Yeah, and Chevalier, it was endorsed by Mayor Mamdani, and it was one of the 3 congressional candidates that he endorsed. Do you think it's right is this a candidate that Mamdani should be hitching his wagon to in this race?
So what the mayor is demonstrating here is that those folks who are with him on day one, when he launched his mayoral campaign in October 2024, he was polling around 0%. The DSA was the first major organization that endorsed him. And so he is very much saying, if you are a day one loyalist to me, Daria Lisa, Claire Valdez, these are DSA endorsed candidates. I'm going with you. Now listen, let me hold on.
That's not
JC,
true.
let me finish. JC,
let me finish. When? I mean,
JC, let me finish.
True.
So what I'm saying here is that he is saying, if you're loyal to me, I'm going to rock with you. Now, on a political level, this candidate has a lot of risks here. She is not as polished as Mayor Mamdani is. And frankly, her immediate reaction to some of these problematic posts, she did not react the way...
If Mamdani's the bar, she falls very far below it. Yeah, but you know, it's better than the alternative.
Last year. You know, we all remember...
Keep in mind her opponent is like actively race war posting too. No matter what, in New York 13, we're getting a race war.
Last year, during the general election, Mayor Mamdani actually went on Fox News and said, if I said previous comments to rank and file NYPD officers that offended you, I apologize. I thought that was one of the stronger moments of the general election.
You're making this about Mayor Mamdani, which is what's happening in this whole primary process. You're falling into the cult of personality, Trip. Forget about Mayor Mamdani. We're talking about the candidate. The candidate is awful. She's inexperienced. She's trashed Arab and black men, Jewish Americans, police, everybody. And what you're saying is absolutely not true. And the reason why, Trip, is because Nidia Velasquez.
What part of what I'm saying is not true?
If you were there with him, if you were there with him since day
I'm virtue signaling. I just support her because she's cute.
one, he'll show you. No, Nidia Velasquez was there since day one.
No,
Nidia Velasquez was there since day one.
No, respectfully, look, JC,
Since day one.
Look.
Am I wrong? Since day one.
No, that's not true.
Absolutely.
The DSA was with him in October 2024. I'm not agreeing or disagreeing whether this was a good political decision or not. There were a lot of folks who were with him, but it was actually closer to June 2025, May 2025, when he was emerging as the anti-Cuomo alternative. The folks who were there with him on day one was the DSA. I am not saying this was the right decision or not. Again, I do believe that Daria Lisa is a risky candidate. She is not as good of a candidate as Mayor Mamdani was. Look,
yeah, but like no one is.
If she loses, I believe that this may not have been the best decision politically for Mamdani to put his political capital on.
If she loses, even if she wins, there's a loss. There's a price to be paid for taking out or trying to take out the chairman of the Hispanic caucus and the first Dominican elected to Congress. It's just impossible to tell me.
Fuck off. They definitely are committing though. Mamdani's canvassing for her. They're really putting their weight behind her. They really, really, really want some DSA wins here, you know? What matters is that they're having fun. Got a YouTube shorts about her. Are we whining?
Lisa Avila Chevalier. She is a Democratic socialist. She's a Columbia University grad student. I wonder what she thinks of Israel. I think you could guess.
We might be whining.
Looked it up. I think you could probably guess. So we're talking about as wacko as you're going to find, but she's very likely to win. And remember, if she wins the primary, she will be in Congress. The Republican has no shot here. Upper Manhattan, you're not going to find a lot of Republicans. She is the choice of not just Mayor Zoran Mamdani, but also of Bernie Sanders. She has openly rejected AIPAC money. We know what the subtext is there.
Dog, you're just like stacking. Who are these people? Clay and Buck? Oh, these aren't even former CIA analysts. I'm not, whatever. Literally whatever, okay? I don't know.